Afternoon, everybody. You see in the message will start about 2 minutes after the hour. I just want to give some time for all the attendees to get a chance to get in, get settled before we kick off live. Everybody see my screen all right?
Yeah, that's good.
All right. Okay, we still got some coming in. Courtesy minute. Welcome to you that are just joining us. We're going to go ahead and kick off here in a couple of minutes, so that way we can get everybody in, get them settled, and then we'll kick off our webinar Wednesday this week. Doing the radio voice, we're back. All right. Okay, we're going to go ahead and kick off here. I would ask all attendees, please, if you have any questions, enter them in Q&A. We'll be able to address them as we go along, but this way we can make sure that we're tracking what's been answered, what hasn't been answered. It's a little bit easier than tracking it down in chat. So if you could do that for us, greatly appreciate it. So with that, I want to welcome everybody back to a webinar Wednesday. Yay, we need some fake applause here to come in. That would be great. The webinar Wednesday, if you're up on social media, it's corn. We got the juice, baby. All right, so we've got Spot PC with us today. We're going to do a quick intro of XenTegra and myself. If you don't know who I am, then you don't know our webinar Wednesdays. So with that, what I want to do is our first announcement. The Bronco giveaway is back. That's right, everybody. The Bronco giveaway is back. So if you go to XenTegra.com, you can see it on our landing page there. You'll be able to click the link, but the direct URL is Bronco-giveaway. So make sure you look everything over, enter to win yourself a Bronco. You'll be able to do some things, meet with us about our partners like Spot, get some additional information, and also get some deeper knowledge from XenTegra and what we can provide to you. So again, the Bronco giveaway is back. Work has no boundaries at XenTegra.com, Bronco giveaway. Now we got that out of the way. We have a giveaway for today's webinar. And what will happen is we're going to have an Amazon gift card. And gents, I believe it's, keep me if I'm
$100.
$100.
Yep.
$100 gift card giveaway today from Spot PC. The winner will be drawn after the webinar, so that way we can really focus on content. And then the winner will be notified post-webinar. So let's get into the deep details here. XenTegra, if you're not aware, we provide professional services, hosting services, managed services. We do everything from hosting your data center to managing your environment, whether it's on-prem or in the cloud, implementations. What we really focus is this digital transformation, assisting you, our customers, as a partner on transitioning into these solutions as it relates to EUC and how that has all these peripheral solutions that are out there. We focus on gaining that knowledge to be able to advise you, to help you make the right decisions based upon your business strategy. One thing that's a continual note that I bring up is that we are in this for partnerships. We're not in for a sale and done. So we're here to be a part of you in your journey and your business strategy, not just one project, but down the road, to be able to be that valued advisor that you're looking for as far as these solutions are concerned within your data centers. So we were founded by Andy Whiteside. He came from Citrix, where he saw there was a void within our community as it relates to enablement, really what it comes down to. And that's where I have a lot of expertise. It's basically enabling our partners. Our partners are people like Spot and our customers, making sure everybody's aware of technologies and solutions out there, bringing you to the table to be able to have those conversations and make sound decisions on technologies as it relates to your company. So again, we go through our value-added reseller, we provide our professional services, managed services, and complementary assessments. I really say it's more gratis. What we do is we come in and we have micro assessments, and you'll be able to see that from our webpage as well. We cover a wide variety of micro assessments, technologies and solutions, Citrix, networking, all of that, VMware, all within that wheelhouse. You can see everything that we offer. You can schedule with one of our CEs and cover that information. So me, John Splone, I'm your presenter today. I'll be helping out with your questions while Spot goes along and gives you some spotlight details on their solution. I'm in Baltimore area. I've been within the digital world, the actual technology for 25, 26 plus years now, all wide gambit. I've started out as just an administrator, went from a consultant to an enablement instruction, to sales architect, systems integration advisor, and cloud architect. So you name it, I've pretty much got the Swiss Army knife of solutions that I can pull out for you. I love my dad jokes. Give it to my kids. My kids, you know, we spend most of the night sitting on Messenger, texting back and forth on stupid stuff. So that's pretty much what I do at my free time. Between that, finding that Zen-like balance between my geekery and my nerdery. So with that, what I want to do is handle it over to the Spot team. And gents, I will stop my screen. There we go.
All righty, and I'll start it off here.
Right.
Right there. And can you see that?
Sure can.
Awesome. Thanks. Again, Chuck Zimzek here. I'll go into a little bit of detail. Let me hit the screen so I can then move it across. There we go. So we're going to be talking about Spot PC, cloud desktops as a service. So simple, secure, and cloud desktops for you. We're part of the NetApp team. I'll go into a little bit of detail on that too. But again, I'm Chuck Zimzek. I'm the manager of sales here for the MSP team. So I support accounts like XenTegra. So, and then I'll let Frank introduce himself.
Thanks, Chuck. Frank Anderson here. I'm the Global Field CTO for Spot PC. Have a lot in common with John. We both go way back in the industry. I have about similar amount of experience. Ex-Citrix guy, was there when Andy was there as well. Both came up the SE ranks, matter of fact, and done a lot of things, a lot of alliances roles. Worked at VMware as well for the Horizon Group for a little while. Kind of followed Sumit Dewan around a little bit. I worked for him at Citrix. I worked for him at VMware as well. So kind of funny how that is. Worked at Cisco. If you ever read a FlexPod-based Cisco validated design with Citrix in it, since going back to like 2010, there's a good chance in that RA, but my name will be on that one. So say that proudly, and done a bunch of different things before moving over to cloud about 4 years ago. So thank you for your time, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. Just a little bit of the agenda, what we're going to kind of go over today. So I'm going to kind of discuss some of the use cases that we have been seeing in the marketplace here over the past 3 years, especially increasing. I'm going to go a little bit of detailed in about what, the cloud desktop Spot PC has. Then I'm going to move it over to Frank, kind of go over some of the show you around the solution, see how it works and stuff like that, user-based, and then questions, and then the gift card drawing, like we said, will be later on today. So just to get started, the past few years, this was, or I should say before the past few years, say that 2019, work life as we know it was, an office, everyone went in, cubicles, everyone meeting face to face. And then the pandemic hit in early 2020, and then we all must go work from home. Pull this picture out, someone setting up a garage for their office because some of the people or organizations didn't have, space for the particular offices. So they had to do some makeshift offices when it came down to it. Everyone taking their computers home, working with, struggling Wi-Fi, struggling VPNs to get the job done. Then the increasing of that is, then tons of Zoom calls. Everyone, what we're on right now too, though, like in this webinar, but tons of Zoom calls over the past couple of years, and then also, working with the kids with the homeschooling and activities, and really changing the mix of no 9 to 5 going into offices for the past couple of years. Things have changed a little bit. The coast is clear. You can come back. Some organizations are, some organizations are not. Some organizations are going into a hybrid type of role when it comes down to it. And this is where we kind of came in here with the Spot solution. It's been around for a while, virtual desktops, but it's really kicking into play now with, organizations looking for a secure way for their users to have the desktop experience, but having it secure and locked down and really controlled by the organization, and giving them the flexibility they would have just as they would be in at the office. So this one here is like, which model would be the most difficult to manage? Remote, hybrid office, it really is different, when it comes down to different organizations. If you were always remote, then it was really easy. If now you're going back into an office, managing those particular devices, in some situations, it would probably be the hybrid way that would be a little bit difficult, because you have some of those users in the office, making sure that infrastructure is secure. And then, making sure when they're taking that desktop home or logging in from a desktop from home, being able to make sure that's secure and still giving them all the applications that they need. So, kind of going into it here, what do businesses need? Availability, secure, compliant in most situations, and efficient. So, work anywhere, anytime, on any device. And Frank will go into this in more details, but when it comes down to the devices you can work off of, in some situations it's a tablet, a browser on any particular device, for you to get access to that desktop. All right, I'm going to go into a little bit of what Spot PC is and what we have here. So, about 2 years ago, I think, matter of fact, just right around pandemic time, NetApp purchased a company called CloudJumper. About 2 months after that, they purchased Spot. And as you can see behind my head, we have about 11 different products that we work with. Me and Frank work on, alone right here on the Spot PC team, not alone, but only on that particular product. And that's where the Spot team, that's where NetApp really became the cloud division, for NetApp. Doing about $500 million in revenue now when it comes down to the cloud solutions, and really flexible for any type of organization. So built in the cloud, Azure desktops, and we integrate it here securely at one fixed price per month. And I won't go into pricing on this call, but if anyone does want some pricing, we can work it through XenTegra and things like that. So just a little example here of what's included with the solution. So as you see, anyone can, some of you maybe already have something or plan to in the future, but this would be like a DIY here of what is available if you wanted to go do this for yourself. So as you can see, the list on the side, there's 12 different pieces here. The Azure Virtual Desktop, the Microsoft Endpoint Manager, Microsoft Defender is included. We do have a couple other solutions here on the NetApp side behind my head that's built into the software, which is the Elastic Group and Cloud Insights. We're also providing you with a backup, and we're also in part of the cost, working on the Azure subscription spend or cost there. So what's different between us and other AVDs is solutions is we take on that Azure subscription for you. Keep that cost for that desktop, that personal desktop, that GPU or that server. We keep that at a fixed rate per month. So you don't have to struggle with those Microsoft bills moving forward. The increases, the up and downs of some of those Azure bills that you may be seeing in your organization. Of course, like I'll go through the 4 quadrants here. Security is always in the forefront for all solutions. So we are, again, including the Microsoft Defender for Cloud. It's doing the backups, the real-time restores, the updates, because it's in the cloud and it's all on Microsoft. The automation and the visibility, the automation is the Elastic Group solution, the Elastic Group. That's giving you the ability to, automatically behind the scenes, depending on the number of users that you have in your organization, moving users around onto different virtual machines so that, you're having a true performance, making sure that everyone's happy with the performance they're getting out of the solution. And then when it comes down to the visibility, that would be the Cloud Insights. And that's giving you the ability to, as in XenTegra or individual IT units, giving the ability to see what's going on those particular devices when it comes down to processes, CPU speed, round trip time, and things like that, making sure they're up and running. Mentioned this just a little bit ago. We do have pooled shared users, personal GPU, depending on the workload of the user on your side, is what type of device we would kind of select for you on this. And again, fixed price, tier 2 and tier 2 support. We also do some onboarding with you when you're ready to move forward. When it comes down to the solution. This is over to the different types of devices. So if you have those shared users, those light users that just need the, a few applications and access to a desktop, those would be key for those. If you have some of those power users that really need those personal desktops out there, always on type of devices when it comes down to it, and or the GPU devices when it comes down to graphical interfaces, AutoCAD, things like that within your organization. As I mentioned, it's a co-managed solution. So when you're ready to move forward, this is a little sample of, what's needed from the XenTegra side or the customer side when it comes down to it. And then what we do with you on our side. So again, we do the onboarding and migration, walk you through the steps of the Azure tenant, making sure everything is connected and tested, and then, supported going through. And the nice thing on that solution is, from our side, there's not really a cost associated with that. It's all built into the cost per user when it comes down to it. We are on the Microsoft Marketplace. So, again, we'll work with XenTegra, we'll walk through, you'll be able to select the types of users you have when it comes down to it. And then what we do with our onboarding team is then connect it to the solution, making sure that, we're using your Azure tenant and the subscription cost is going our way for that particular users that you have purchased. We do, a couple steps here that Frank will go through here in a few minutes, but a little bit of 6 steps here to onboard, make sure everything is connected within your organization, selecting the region, the Azure tenant built in, and it's doing all the processes in the back to make sure that everything is connected when it comes down to it. A little bit of the prereqs here. And again, you'll have this recorded, so you'll see this all here, but if you do want any of this information, I can easily send it your way. But again, the Microsoft licensing on your side, Business Premium, I think is what is needed. Azure tenants, global admin there on your side, so we can, get everything connected and the different things depending on what type of applications you have and or where your servers are, if they're already in the cloud or on premise on your side. So A little bit about the security. Frank will dig into this a little bit deeper here on the demonstration, but security and privacy, again, built in with the solution. You'll be able to see a little dashboard that's giving you a little security score, what's going on those particular individuals or those groups of users. And then again, the automation and the visibility when it comes down to it on the monitoring, seeing the processes, seeing the machines that are out there, what's going on, what type, is someone playing massive videos on there that's really dragging down the, although maybe that workstation or even affecting others, when it comes down to bandwidth or performance on that particular machine. Some of the key takeaways, again, a complete cloud solution, ready to use, desktop as a service, fixed price, IT-centric, so cross-tenant visibility, giving you the ability to have applications integrated in for those particular users you have on your side, and or different types of applications, depending on if this is for HR, accounting, finance, or sales or marketing. We can set up the different types of application sets there for the particular users within your organization. And again, combining Cloud Jumper of 20 years and the flexibility with or the buying power with NetApp's, giving you the solution to a strong solution here over the years. I'll gonna go into the architecture. I'm not gonna really go into the architect. I'll let Frank kind of go into the demonstration, but I'll kind of switch it over to him so he can show you around the solution and kind of show you, let you see what the user experience would be on a solution like this. I'll let you take it away, Frank.
All right, thanks, Chuck.
Yeah.
Okay. Slides, check. Time to move on to demo. My favorite portion of that one. Chuck did a great job there, provide an overview, but we're going to go right into talking about two things that we do really well. If you notice when Chuck went through the use cases, right? So you see we have the full spectrum of use cases that we deliver through Azure Virtual Desktop. And from pooled for task workers up to the knowledge workers one for VDI. We could do persistent and non-persistent for that, and you'll see some of the workflow for that. And then we get into a lot of other things too, including the GPU. GPU is where I'm going right now. Thanks, John. I was going to share the screen out, but I was deliberately not doing it because there's a lot going on here. I didn't want to distract, right, going into it. So I was leading up to this big, climatic moment, which I'll be revealing.
Sorry to steal your thunder, Frank.
no worries, John. Thanks. So, all right. So this is the one of the things that we do is GPU desktops for high-end technical workloads, and we delivered that through Azure, of course, for this one, through Spot PC. So this is delivered as a service. There's 4 different variants of it from different power size ones. These are based off NVIDIA. I want to show you here and start off with like a user experience geared one, right? Because it doesn't matter how much power it has. Anybody who's been in the industry for a while, right? It starts and ends with user experience. If you don't deliver that, it doesn't matter how efficient you are behind the scenes. If you can't deliver that, you're not delivering the solution as a whole. And we've won a couple of really nice opportunities like that. Big engineering firm in that one. I'll get into a little bit more detail if we have some time, but let's start right into what we're showing here. So we have an NV 24 core system with the 2 M60 GPUs in it, and that's hosted in Azure US West. Now, the client is staged in Florida, which I happen to be. Matter of fact, I'm in South Florida, if you guys know the Parkland area. But I want to show you here a demo. So this was a recorded demo where I am showing like spec view perf, just happens to be a workload running. Don't worry about that. But these are 2 4K displays captured independently, same exact virtual desktop. The one on the left is using a standard cloud desktop. It's got the same GPU and those characteristics to it, but it's got RDP. That's RDP with short path, and it's been tuned. It uses the video-based codec to it. It's hardware level encoding. We tuned that one for its best experience, but you can see that compared to the one on the right. The one on the right is what we go ahead and deploy using Mechnime TGX. If you've heard of TGX, they've been around for like 20 years. They're very big in oil and gas, EDA, manufacturing, healthcare, a lot of these more technical verticals to it. And you can see the difference between the two. So it's around like half the bandwidth if you're clocking up top, the differences between it. And you can see qualitatively the frame rate and things that it's delivering is very good. Over high latency, jitter, packet loss, big displays, it does extremely well to it. It's a very prescribed solution. So what it does in specific things to these type of workloads, the CATIAs and Siemens and a whole bunch of other type of workloads like that, it does extremely well. But you know, it is specific to the GPU desktops, which we deliver very well to. So that's that. And you know, because we have the time, I wanted to show you kind of what that looks like on a live demo. So this is the same desktop, but it's just being delivered live. So you could see the user experience coast to coast. This is really good. Yeah, I don't know how well this is going to translate over Zoom. That's the one qualifier that I will say. And if you look up there, look at the bandwidth being consumed too. It's like around 11, 12. Okay, so I hit 14 megabits of bandwidth. This is a 4K display, so it does very well. And if we go out, you can see if we crank up the fish here for that, you know, classic test, you can see, and we're 60 FPS. Got a particle generator there that's doing pretty well. Let's do the bad day on Earth as mini. This is a really bad day on Earth. He had 60 FPS too in that. And look at this. So I can still control that car pretty reasonably well. Matter of fact, extremely well with all of that going on. You know, so thought one benchmark is good. Four's got to be, well, 4 times as good, I guess. And that's my rationale to that. Healthcare apps too, and just you can see how the user experience is for this too. So anyway, thought I would start off with something I thought visually nice. So that's one of the use cases that we deliver. We deliver it in a number of different ways out of the Azure marketplace, as Chuck had mentioned. So that's how that's transacted. And then of course you work alongside with XenTegra, and XenTegra presents the solution and will help you guys pick and choose your best use cases to meet your business requirements and solutions around that. So this is our user interface that we deliver. So everything is done here. No need to go through the Azure portal. And as you saw too, with all of the 12 different services and touch points that you have that works into the solution, it's fully encompassed. And this is the organizational level view when you first hit. So you can see if you have multiple orgs, they're represented here. And then we have all of these tenants. These are Azure tenants, which are also customer tenants too. So you can manage multiple tenants from this point of view. You can also onboard here. So I'm not going to onboard it from this perspective there. Matter of fact, we have a very good video that we can send. It's 6 minutes long, walks you through the whole onboarding process and all the pieces that go into it. But let's go and move ahead here and show you an existing tenant. This capstone is a demo environment that we have laid out. You have these licenses that are made available. So these are the licenses that get subscribed to per user per month. And you can see the different ones that we have available to us. If we jump ahead, then you look at the user sessions. So once again, these are all sort of staged, but these are live sessions that are in that environment. And you can see we got this nice dashboard level view. Spot PC is not just one product, NetApp product. It's actually like 4 NetApp products in one, including NetApp's Cloud Insights. So we're doing all this monitoring through Cloud Insights, and we're presenting it here. It's not anything that has to be purchased separately or a la carte. It's all included in that subscription on a per SKU per user basis. So you're going to have this ability day one to be able to go in there. You'll be able to see the CPU, memory, all the typical things. We also provide alerts to this too for cautions. If you reach like 70% on the CPU sustained for like 5 minutes, if you break 90%, then you're going to go to red. So you're going to get those alerts, same thing with memory. So user input delay. If you're familiar with what this is, and if you technical in this industry, you know this came around about 3 or 4 years ago at Microsoft has. This is a great gauge for user experience. It's going to measure really end to end from the client side up to the application layer and how responsive that is. So it's a good user experience metric. Round trip times in both of them milliseconds. The round trip response times are speak to specifically around the graphics stack or the remote display protocol at the specifically at the network transport layer. So you got to see what that is there too. So if you notice that those round trip response times are going exceedingly high, if it's 300 milliseconds of latency, you get about a third of a second lag in between doing different user operations right in there, if you're clicking or typing or etc. So that's a great experience, way to see that. And if we go in there, if we look into Chloe, for example, you can go from having a dashboard style view that can be like in 15-minute time span, all the way up to 24, even a week. So you can be able to go back historically and really be able to see, the different attributes and different metrics that we have. And if you do have like higher, round trip response times or user input delay times in there, you can go, well, I wonder where that's from. Then you can, sort of double click and go a little bit further into looking at sort of the frame skipped. So these are RDP attributes, and I've used these a number of times doing performance testing. They work very well. So this will, if you get frame skipped, if in event that you don't have enough bandwidth available for your remote display protocol, right, and you're suffering on that, there's a couple things that are going to happen. The display protocol is always going to self-tune. It's going to lower its image quality, but oftentimes than not, it's going to drop frames. So it's going to skip those frames over to try to make sure that it keeps up with things, just try to optimize user experience as best it can. But you want to know where that's happening. The network is the no-brainer. People always think about network conditions as being the cause of frames dropping, but it's more than that. It could actually be the client resources. If the client endpoint device is underpowered, or if it's pegged at 100% usage or whatever's going on local to that, that's going to cause that user experience disruption and frames drop. Same thing with the host side. So this would be like a session host, and what's happening there too that may be causing it. So that's kind of the three-legged stool of user experience, right? Make sure all three of those are in check. All right, and something else you can do from this UI is you can also log off users there if you need to do that. That's a great way that you can get in. If you're frontline help desk support worker, you can be able to quickly go in there if you need to log off that user. You can also remediate problems like this too, where say if you have kind of a boring demo environment, right? So you got Teams and things going, but imagine if you had like the Edge browser tab that's taking up like, I don't know, 100% of the CPU is flatlined. If there's some plugin or something in there that's happening, happens all the time, right? It's a common complaint. And users may not be too skilled in doing that, may be stuck or something. So you can go in there and remediate the issue by terminating it from this perspective. You can also look at user logon activity too, how long it takes, for that user to log in. Some of these are really short times. These are disconnect, reconnect events. This one's really long, as you can see. So you can go in there and really kind of break that down and start looking at some of the information that gets surfaced in there to be able to, troubleshoot and figure out what that is. Slow logons, also top 5 most complained about items for EUC. If we go to machines, and we can look at the machine attributes here, and what we have, same thing is that we got all of these different prescribed, already baked into the UI, right, set of metrics that are in there. Same thing, you're gonna get the amber warnings and red alerts whenever those get triggered. You're gonna, if you go into one of these, oh, by the way too, if you notice, the ones with VM or the Azure Virtual Desktop or AVD side of the house, the ones that are CPC or Windows 365 Cloud PC, we're demonstrating the fact that we can manage both from here. If within a single context of a tenant, so you can be able to deploy across both, because we back up. We look at everything from a business solutions perspective and use cases. So however that's derived, if that's derived through Windows 365 or AVD, we can meet both of them. And from a single pane of glass, you can manage that all from one place. Super cool. So moving on, you can look at, if you go into it, you can look at the performance characteristics. You can see same thing from real-time dashboard to more historical to look at all of the different information that's in there. You can go in there and do the process. You could do a lot of the things, find out what user sessions are active. Just for the sake of time, right? I'll move on, but you get the idea of this. And you can also look at logon activity. If you wanted to isolate on maybe on a per session host basis, right? Or VM. So you can see that too, or who may be gotten in there. So the quick actions for here, a little different. than the other one. So with the user session, you can log them off. But here you can actually connect to the machine. And as Chuck shown before, right? So if you're building the solution out, you can connect to it through RDP, which is less secure. Even using NSG is kind of a pain to manage. Or you use Bastion, right, for an additional service. Here, we have our own secured way that we can connect to the machines to support them, to customize them from an images perspective, and so you can connect to them to troubleshoot them, et cetera. So you can do that. A tab would build out. It would pass through your credentials, log you in. You can be able to start working on that system. So you can do that. You can also reboot them. You can reboot them doing a graceful or a forced reboot. If that system's really stuck, you can do that. And you can also disable new logons, especially helpful in a multi-session pooled scenario for that one too. Okay, part of every subscription, once again, includes everything, right, out the door, including storage. You need to have storage for the profile data, the user data for that one. So we configure FSLogix for you. That's kind of a broad, sort of configuration. And we also provide you storage. So you can see your Azure NetApp files. Doesn't matter what the storage is underlining, but we happen to use A and F there because I say it doesn't matter because we go ahead and provision the capacity pool, the volume, we create the share, and we have the mount point that's available. We feed all of that into it and we configure it to FSLogix. So if you're in a non-persistent pooled scenario or VDI non-persistent, you're going to get FSLogix, you're going to get this profile share. So the profiles are the amount of storage quota is 25 gigabytes or gigabytes per user. So that's amount you can up that too. We have separate SKUs to make that very easily, easily consumable. If you want to up the storage but in 1 terabyte increments, you can do that. That's no problem. And you're going to be able to go in there and you're going to be able to get information to there. Again, there's nothing going on in this demo environment. We need to add a little something to make that look nicer, but you can get a summary, you can get performance data, including latency and throughput. It's really nice, so you got everything from that dashboard view. The other thing that's very cool, if you look at everything I'm showing you here, is in the context of a single tenant. But you can span tenants. You can jump from tenant to tenant to tenant. And if you're a XenTegra, this is especially helpful, right? Or if you're even in a customer and you're a large enterprise and you have multiple tenants to manage, bouncing in and out of the portal, it just becomes a little bit of a tedious exercise sometimes, right? Or if you're going in and out of MIM or whatever it may be. So having that, sort of centralized single pane of glass, common set of credentials that apply across tenants is, well, it's quite efficient. Here's security. Security is a big deal for us. You can't call yourself a managed solution or a DAS without having something in there. We deliver Defender for Cloud. Now, we just automatically configure that for you. It's no additional cost. And we set it up where the security center components of it were already included in, rather than having to go into Endpoint Manager, you can still do that if you want to, but you got this, baked right into our UI. So you can see your all your security related alerts that are there against your threat protection that you have. And you can see like here, right, different things that happen, like this new group was added. It's going to, so you can find out what account that was affected. Okay, so this is the account that was added. It looks like a service account. This is the file that it impact and the host server. So you're gonna be able to get a lot of cool information that's readily available there, including the severity levels. You're gonna be able to go to recommendations that works in favor or against your posture, right? Security posture score that's in there. 70% is pretty good. We can get it higher than that. This environment's always fluctuating because it's a demo environment, so we have people in and out of there. Guys like Chuck are in there, kind of showing off the product all the time. We'll create new images and things that will impact that one. But as he should, this is exactly the right place for it. But it starts off, you're very low. You can see all the things that we're in there that we have completed that are applied, and the severity levels is being high, right? Things like MFA and Defender should be enabled. You got, all of these other components, this level encryption, etc. These are all the things that you want to apply to boost up that posture score that you can have. So that's that. Oh, and by the way, if you're a large enterprise and or whatever, medium to large enterprises or anybody, if you want to use something else, if you're a CrowdStrike shop, no problem. we'll disable this and get out of your way and let you manage that with a different platform. Logs. So logs are done across our product and as well as the other components and services that we hook into through Azure Log Analytics. So you have that available to you. It's very easy to troubleshoot in event that you something within our stack needs to be addressed. You can go in there, pull the information out. You can download the information too from here. If you want to be able to look at the ABD logs, no problem. You can search on that. We surface all of the information here, and you can lots of different ways that you can search against it, including the severity levels, etc. So it's a good place to get that information. You can also get the admin activity logs. So this would be the logs. Let's see how far back it goes. Yeah, these are the logs. This Frank Anderson character has been up to no good, I can tell. But so this is all of the tracking of the the user thing. So this is the audit trails that's oftentimes needed for compliancy. So you got all of that in there. All right, let's move on to something which we get asked a ton of questions about. Number one thing, right? So this product's been out for a few months. As Chuck said, we go way back with CloudJumper. That goes back to like almost 20 years in the MSP space. We've had virtual desktop service. We wanted to reapproach this product last year, and we wanted to come out with one that's focused around different things, right? Because you didn't have Windows 365 a year ago, right? And the way the ABD sits now, a lot of the different things. So we took a ton of partner and customer feedback and baked it into building a a new solution or a new product around that. One of the things was imaging. To get images done in a very simple manner through this service and make it very efficient. 4 steps here, really 3, because the last one is just notes, but you can create new image sets to set you down the path of making a customized image. You can do this on, now sites are our concept. Sites are indicative of an Azure resource group and a region to deploy it into. So you can go into specific regions or sites, or you can do it globally. If you know that this custom image that you want is going to be deployed across different regions, you're going to pick that one. So let's just pick site 1 here, and we're going to do that. Now you're going to pick your source image. Here's the cool thing is that we already, we already filter against it. We just show you just the images out of the gallery that are relevant to Azure Virtual Desktop and Windows 365. So we just do that. So here's a really popular one, right? Windows 11, you have with the Microsoft 365 apps baked in. So that's there. You're going to name the image, you're going to describe the image, and that's it. You're going to hit save. Once you hit save, make this like a cooking show. So you're going to come out and let's say this is the next stage of it. You're going to get this first 000 base version of it that'll be available. Then you're going to create a new version. So that new version is going to be the one that you customize. And once you create that new version, you can see there's a 0.01, right? So point release of that, and then you'll be able to connect to it. So with this, once you create a new version, it's going to create a template VM for you. So that template VM is going to get set up so that you can connect into it. It will make sure that anything that's occurring captured at that version level will be there. So you connect to it, you'll install your updates, you'll install your applications, whatever you need to do to configure it. Once you're done, you come back, you hit seal image. Seal image does all of the backend stuff for you. It'll do the sysprep, it'll do the Azure image capture process and make that available to you. So once that becomes available there, if you go back up to like Office Staff, this is a good one because you can see how many versions, incremental versions that you've added along the way. You can also see how they've been applied, which we'll get into spot groups in just a few seconds here. But so you see all of those that are made available to you, which are then ready for deployment. And to deploy that, this is when you get into spot groups. Spot groups is our concept, brings together all the concepts and familiar concepts that you need, especially like Azure Virtual Desktop, where you get the application sets and the host pools and all of these pieces of it. But you don't need to know about any of that behind the scenes. It's all, if you know what a spot group is and you know how to create a spot group and desktops within there, all the other back-end pieces of this come together for you and are managed for you. So let's see what this looks like when you create a spot group. So if you create a spot group, you're going to name it. You're going to tag it. This is especially helpful if you're doing build backs or if you have a lot of different groups to manage. You're going to describe it. All right, here we got 2 different sites. Once again, sites is associated to an Azure region. So we can go to US East or West or go to the EU, go to Australia, wherever you want to go to that one. So we'll pick a site that we want to deploy to. This is the default profile path, as I mentioned before. That's through that Azure NetApp files that we have available. So you can go with the default path, or you can change that if you need to. Then you can apply a license. The license will determine the use case and the type of desktops that you will get for these bank of users. So if you pick pooled, that's going to be the multi-session scenario, right? So you're going to pick the amount of users that you want to deploy for that, and the rest is going to handle that. So once you know the amount of users, we know how many machines that we need, that they will automatically start becoming created and provisioned. If you got to go beyond a certain amount, right? If you go past 10, it's going to start building another one, right? So it's going to scale out that host pool and that environment for you automatically. So it handles that for you. It's by the way, incidentally, we get this question a lot. It's a 10-to-1 session to session host ratio. So it's very good for, especially these are 8 vCPU minimum systems that we have available to us. And if we need to go past that, 8 vCPUs, we can for availability. That's part of what Chuck was talking about, the Elastic Group. Elastic Group's thing is it's for cost because it has the instances and the aspects of that part of it to it. Another one is availability. We have 7 different machines that we can use for one of these. The minimum you're going to get is what we advertise is the 8 vCPU system. Like I think it's a D series. But if you got to go beyond that, if you got to go to if we can't get one available in that particular region, then it might give you a 16 vCPU. So it has to maybe upgrade for availability. So you get availability and cost. That's all worked into the price. And the good thing is you don't have to know about any of that, right? That's all back-end services that are occurring. Next up is you're going to pick the user groups that you want for this. You're going to pick your images. So you're going to pick your image set and you're going to pick your individual image version that you want in there, the one that you want to roll out to this group of users. And that's it. You hit save and then it creates it for you. So what happened there, right? It's just as a quick recap to that one. So we brought together the user entitlements with the desktop image, with the type of license that are going to be applied, which will ultimately dictate the desktops that get created for this one. So once you hit save, the provisioning process is started, right? It's on. It's going to go through that and create that for you. If you need to update one of these spot groups with a newer image version, it's also included in there. So you're going to pick your spot group that you want to update, and you just pick the new version. So if we picked this version before, we can maybe go up 1 increment. And you're going to pick how you want to release that. So optimistic one is the one that will be whenever this machine becomes available, all the users logged off, you got that one. You got immediate, just as the name implies. So if you do immediate, you can figure out the time span that you want to do, however you want to. It'll message to users for you. And eventually within that given time, it's going to get them out because as you know, there again, it may be a very serious scenario that you want to apply that to. Scheduled, yeah, pretty easy for that one to figure out, right? We give you the UI elements in there too to pick it when you want to do it on a scheduled basis. And that's it. And that's how you apply it and you get the new image version rolled out to your spot groups. This, of course, is non-persistent, right? These are non-persistent image managed scenarios that you want to deal with that, which is always the best, whenever you can, you want to go with that route. So if we go to Windows 365 there, we can see how this works. So Windows 365, if you've been into Endpoint Manager and you are a little bit familiar with how this works, there's these 3 pillars, right? There's 3 different ways that you need to configure the connection, which gets you to a hybrid AD scenario. By the way, if we also support AADJ for direct join to Azure AD, if you want to. If that's the case, you can omit this step out. Then you pick your device image, right? You can configure that within here too. Your device image, you can either use gallery or custom. So if you pick a custom one here, everything that I showed you when I was building an image set, customizing applies to this. You do all of that same simplified workflow. So you can use ABD or Windows 365 common without having to go into two different ways to manage that. You just do that. Then you bring that in as a custom image here. Then you create your provisioning policy. Provisioning policy, to determine that this is the one that brings together, right? The entitlements, the image type, all that stuff together. And then that's it, it'll start working from there. So you could do that once again within this without having to break out to Endpoint Manager. You could do that across 10 environments. You can also monitor there again across ABD and Windows 365 from one place. Right. So I wanted to show you few things here. So business service, if you have PaaS related services, if you have a separate, within your Azure tenant, you have a separate subscription, a separate resource groups, and all of your line of business, your data sets, all that stuff, we can certainly get to there. We can peer it. We can do all of those things to get that going. But if you need, if you have a smaller environment, or maybe it's a remote location and you just need that quick Windows server that's up, right? We have 3 different SKUs for this sort of, t-shirt sizing for that. And you can build out a simple Windows business server for you for that little accounting app that needs to go to those bank of users. That's perfect for that. So you can do that. And those are separate SKUs that can be licensed and just included in there. So you can do it within our environment, which has our own hosted subscription to all of this, and that's there, or you can stage that outside of it. So you got your options. I want to show you sites too. This is the last few minutes that we have here. So sites, brand new concept. Just rolled this out late last week. Sites gives you 2 things. So if you noticed before when I was taking you through the UI, you got site 1, you got site 2. Sites gives you a very easy way. Here, let's just say test 2 here. All right, Sites gives you a very easy workflow for creating additional, a site is our concept that is associated to an Azure region and resource group too. So if you want to go ahead and deploy across different Azure regions, you're going to do that by way of sites. So you come in here, you will create your site, and you're going to say, okay, well, I know that site 2 is going to be very similar to site 1. So I'm going to go ahead and copy those configuration settings from there. Once you do that, it'll be able to populate a lot of the information for you automatically. So it's going to say, okay, I know this is the subscription that's bound to, etc. Right? You have this information, so you can pick your Azure region you want to deploy to. And this one right here is like don't worry about that for right now. We're working on this particular feature, but this is a way to, so that from our management layer, our local control plane, we could throttle the amount of performance. So you got that as configuration option. And when you connect to the VMs, it's doing that securely through HTML5 based address. You can customize if you want to, or 99% of everybody's going to leave this pretty much like it is. You could change the profile, the path. You can also, this is very cool, you can pick your directory type from there. So you can go hybrid AD, and if you have different remote regions that you want to deploy into, and you don't have line of sight into the domain controllers for hybrid, you can go ahead and go with direct join, right? So, or Azure AD, direct join for those systems there. So you can do a combination of both, all within the boundaries or the limits of a single Azure tenant. That's really cool. And this one doesn't have it, but you can also use, so it's 2 different ways. So you can use sites to do region level deployments. You can also do it to when you need to scale out the environment beyond the limitations of a subscription, an Azure subscription. Because yes, they have that. If you go look at the Azure subscription, you'll see like it may be published as supporting like 10,000 VMs. Well, you're not going to go that many in there, not with Azure Virtual Desktop. The reason being is because you have API throttle limits, and most all vendors that you work with in the space will basically cap out about 2,000. Say, okay, no more than 2,000 VMs, but whatever that ends up being, And it all depends on, the amount of API calls that are being processed all the time. And if you have shift workers and they're in and out all the time, they're logging in and out, or they're rebooting systems constantly, or provisioning, tearing down, reprovisioning, etc. All that will work into it. But whenever that point comes and you're a larger shop, enterprise, and you're going to reach the limitations of it, you can create basically a new subscription that's managed by us and associated to a new site to be able to do a scale out. Really long-winded, I know, forgive me for that, but it's a big deal. You don't get a lot of that because that's a real pain in the neck to do into the Azure portal without that feature. So it's something that's been long awaited and much appreciated on this side. So you're going to be able to create your DNS. Of course, you don't need DNS, and not all that information will go away in the event that you pick direct join, right? So you don't need that, just the IP address range. One gets picked for you, or you can change it if you want to change your network scheme over or subnets, no problem. So you could do that. So that is that feature. So at that point, I think it's a great close for that, to see if there's any questions that we can open up to. But yeah, we really appreciate your time on this. So thank you.
No, that's great. Thanks, Frank. Not seeing any questions right off the bat. One question I do have is as far as KBs or technical details, is there any links that you guys have to, I'm one of those type of people where I like to digest and then really come up with some questions. But if you've got a link to that, we can definitely make sure that everybody gets a copy of that as well.
So what I'll do, John, I'll just go through a couple more slides here too, and at the end I'll have some information on here. What I can do too is work with who over on the XenTegra side, send this presentation out to everyone. It'll have all the links and everything. We'll have the videos and stuff like that. Matter of fact, I'll zoom through mine here. Here we go. So right here we have some demos, blogs, product announcement, things like that, and then where the product's at. So they'll have all those links on there for them. So
awesome.
Just a quick thing here on again, why does this matter to you? The use cases, again, hybrid workers, any of those seasonal workers that you have out there that are looking for desktops. My wife works in accounting. She has one of these. So she works 3-4 months in the beginning of the year, 3-4 months in the end of the year. Perfect for them to have a desktop like this, for them to use the BYOD, spin it up for that organization, let them work for those 4 months, and then spin it down to keep the costs down as you're going. So accountings, virtual office, and then businesses are struggling. The biggest exposure is employees working remotely. How to offer flexible working for your users. And again, what Frank just showed you, the end user experience, powerful devices here, that we're providing for the end users. So that'll be a good user experience. A little bit about the onboarding. Again, we help you with deployment, customizations, implementations. I've seen onboarding take as little as 2 weeks for, a simple application or a simple stand up, depending on the size, the types of applications that we're going on, all the way up to 4 weeks. But it depends on, all of us working together and the time you want to dedicate to it. So I've seen it go really quick in some organizations when we're getting them up there. So again, we're gonna, after this call, we're gonna do a little bit of a drawing, and I'll reach out to that person with some information on how that is going to get to you the Amazon gift card. So but here are the links, and I'll get these this presentation sent out to everyone. Any other questions?
I'm not seeing anything. So let me share my screen real quick.
Is it okay to really want that Bronco? And if it's the Raptor one and I can't qualify, I might quit my job just so I can enter in there, because the thing is impossible to get, and the markups on them are insane for anybody that's a fan. I'm a car nut, so I could talk all day long about that thing, but I love the Bronco deeply.
Gotcha. Well, I did include the link in chat. So everybody, I know in the past when we had this last year, everybody was asking for the link. So, I don't know, maybe you could try to skin through there. Who knows? Okay, so we don't really have any questions from what I'm seeing here. So you can always follow up with us afterwards. That's not a problem at all. We're always here to support for anything. We can definitely relay that over the Spot team, make connections, whatever we got to do, we'll make sure. And then like Chuck said, he'll have a lot of these links that will make sure that you guys have access. That way, like I said, I'm the type of person where I like to digest and then ask my questions. So that's something that maybe you feel the same way. Real quickly, just to do some maintenance here at the end, schedule for September and October, listings of webinars. You can get all of this by going to XenTegra.com, and then you'll see a link for all events, our events tab, and you can go in and take a look at that. But key from webinars, we have Liquidware coming up this month, AWS, I'll be hosting that one as well. We're having a really good conversation around education. So if that's something that you're interested in, ServiceNow and computing, Haiku, another one of mine, yay, shameless plug, and Logic Monitor is what we have to wrap up in October. Note though that Liquidware is the only one that we're going to be starting about a half hour late. So just be aware of that when you're coming into one of the webinars. It's the only one that's kind of off one time. I'm not getting into it because it's not mine. Anyway, workshops and boot camps coming up the next 2 months as well. We have our Nutanix Era Technology Bootcamp, which will be on 9/16. You can go and register to that from the events page. We also have the iGel workshop featuring Control Up on management of endpoint devices. That'll be coming up on September 20th. Then for October, we have app layering with Liquidware Flex app, and that'll be on 10/18. And then I didn't change the 9 to a 10, but we have the Nutanix Workshop 101, which will be coming up in 10/21 for you to attend. These are regular scheduled boot camps that we have throughout the month and throughout the quarter. So if you're not aware of these, make sure you're getting to the events page to get involved. Just to touch base again, the giveaway, Chuck hit on that. We'll be notifying the winner afterwards, after the webinar. Whoever's getting that lucky person, you'll get notified and you'll get your gift card. Again, Bronco giveaway. I put the link in the chat so you can get the link from there. Outside of that, I want to thank everybody for attending another webinar Wednesday. Chuck, Frank, really appreciate your time. Really good data that you gave over to us. Also note that we will be doing post surveys for the webinars now and some of our events that we've got going on virtually. So please fill those out and give us feedback. Me coming from my enablement position, I need that feedback. We need to make sure that we're giving you the right information. We're hitting the right topics that you're looking for. And then also, is the flow good? Is it, what do we need to adjust and make things more presentable for you to better help you with your enablement when we talk about these technologies? So with that, I'm going to close it out for another webinar Wednesday. And I appreciate everybody's time for being here today, and have a great week. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everyone.